After you're done writing an instrument, it's important to know all the functions that you can use in order to shape the sound the way you want. After double clicking to open the box, you can see in the arrow down here all the functions you can change. If you're using the lower zone and can't see this part, simply click on the plus to add a function lane. Now, let's click on the arrow and make sure we start with velocity. Let's drag it up a little bit so we can see better. Okay. The velocity, simply put, is the amount of volume you have for each note. You can change the velocity for each note separately or some of them together. The higher and more red the bar, the stronger is the note. Let's start by changing all of them together. Hold Ctrl and A to mark all of the notes together, and in the top of the highlighted part you can see two arrows. Click on the mouse and drag all of the bars together. I can also change independent notes just by dragging the bars, and as you can see we can hear the sounds. And in case you have a chord and you want to change all the notes or one of them, simply press on the note you want to change and move the velocity in order to change the velocity for a specific note. Or, while not highlighted, change the velocity for all of them together. If you want to create a modifying increase or decrease in the volume, you can simply click and draw a pattern. If you want to create something more precise, you can use the lines up here. Click on it to select the line, and down in the velocity, you can click and drag to make a certain type of a progressing velocity. Click the line again to drop down a menu of other lines you can use, such as parabola and different line shapes. Now let's move to the pitch bend. On most MIDI controllers and synthesizers, the pitch shift will be on the left, and its main target is to simply bend the pitch. As you can see, I'm pitching the notes within a tone or a half a tone. Let's click on the arrow and go to the pitch bend functions. Now, by default, just like in the keyboard, the pitch bend is always in the middle. Go back, and now whenever you press the asterisk to record, if you move only the pitch shift itself, it will do the same in the Cubase. Every pitch you made here is changeable and editable, and your movement is being determined by dots you can see right here. You can press on the dots, change them, delete them, or make new ones by press and holding Alt, and drawing with the pencil. If you want better control, don't forget to turn off the snap, so you won't sit exactly on the grid. It's working just like writing the instrument. We can also use the line we used in the velocity to get a better shape. If you don't like what you did, delete the part you want to change, go back a little bit, and record over this part again. Personally, I like the human touch a little bit more, and if I need a little bit more precision in the pitch, I'll edit them myself. In every function, when you can edit the variables within a line, like here, you can also select any part you want, press on the part, and while holding Alt, drag it and drop it in the place you want. This way you can simply duplicate the same actions you did for the next part. Don't forget to use the snap for better accuracy. You can also use the Ctrl and D if you're sitting right on the grid. Then you can simply copy all the parts again and Ctrl D and do the same over and over again. You can determine how far away from the center the dots will be by pressing here and dragging up and down. Raise or lower the entire part by pressing here and dragging up and down, and tilt the variables up here and drag up or down. Now that we got the pitch bend covered, let's talk about the modulation wheel, which is sitting right next to the pitch bend. Depending mostly on the settings of your effect, moving the modulation wheel while and after recording can give some special features to your sound. Let's change the function here to the modulation, and I'll show you how it's working in this effect. Check this out. For this specific instrument, whenever we're raising up the modulation wheel, it's adding and changing the amount of vibration in the sound. For each sound, the modulation wheel might do something a bit different. And like I showed you before, it's being written down while recording and edited just like the previous functions. But unlike the pitch wheel, it doesn't get back to place. But luckily, it's not operating unless you move it. So whenever you finish using it, return it back to the bottom. The final MIDI function we'll talk about is the sustain. The sustain is basically holding the notes for you instead of you holding all of the notes together and allowing you to play other things while the notes you pressed on and left are still playing. If you have ever looked to the bottom of pianos, it's the pedal on the right. A quick demonstration. And once again, you can change it by yourself. Notice the sustain pedal is either up or down, and you can edit it yourself by being above or below the center. Being above the center means the pedal is being pressed, and being below means the pedal is released. So whenever you're editing the sustain, make sure you're following these rules. The next two functions you can do with a thing called automation, which I will teach you about in an advanced lesson, but you can also do it from here. I personally like it more from the automation, because it's much faster to edit, but it's good to know this function. Click on the arrow and choose main volume. Here, the amount of volume isn't dependent on a single note. You can change the volume itself during a long play. For example, let's extend the chords. Let's draw a volume line and play. Another function is the pan, which is determining which side of the speakers gets more percentage of sound from the instrument. Go to the arrow and go to the pan. Now let's draw a line. And play. If you open the instrument itself through the piano here, you can see the volume and the pan changing during play. Consider this a little preview to an advanced lesson. If you want to have full control on several functions at once, simply press the plus to open a new function. Let's just expand them a little bit. And simply choose the parameter you want to edit. To close the function, simply click on the arrow and go down to remove this lane. And finally, another two functions I'd like to talk about. When you're in the piano roll and pressing the MIDI tab, going down to functions, and pressing on fixed length, all the notes are changing to the size of the quantize preset you chose. You can also select and perform the function on specific notes. Second thing I'm using quite a bit is the legato. Meaning of legato in musical theory is playing the notes right after the last one has ended. You can also find them here in the MIDI tab and functions, and have your notes playing one after the other. Also here you can select the notes and perform the function only for them. Okay, now after some tweaking I finally have the trumpet complete. Now I want this part to play twice. So let's cut the end and the beginning to sit exactly on the bars. And now by holding Ctrl and pressing D, the part will duplicate with all the current functions. Use these boxes to copy and paste parts that are repeating themselves, like the chorus or verses, for a faster workflow. If you want to, you can change the color of the box in order to recognize them better. Next lesson we'll talk about the key commands and show you exactly how to use them in order to boost the speed of your workflow. Hey you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. This video was only one out of many in the Cubase course I'm making called From Cubase to Q Pro. It's going to be an online course and it's going to be intensive.